He's the historian from Ipswich. He's Harold the H. Peacock, who knows all about Ipswich. He's got a great story. And it's actually the mother of the A.I.F. And for those that aren't aware of what that stands for, is Australian Infantry Forces. In other words, the Army. G'day, Harold. How are you, the H?
Fantastic. Yeah, the A.I.F., the Australian Imperial Force. That's what it is. And it's an amazing connection to right here in Ipswich. You'll be surprised by this story.
I'm very interested.
Yeah, now last week I told you about the tragic killing of 11-year-old Harry Anderson at Ipswich Central State School fete in 1912. That got a lot of interest. Right. And his father was Henry de Burgh Anderson, who was the Ipswich manager of the Australian Joint Stock Bank, otherwise known as the AJS Bank. Wow. And it was Henry Anderson who led me to discover who I think should be one of Ipswich's most celebrated residents, but you've never heard of her.
No.
Now, while Anderson was the bank manager in places like here at Ipswich, Allara on the Darling Downs and up in North Queensland, so too was Mr. Travers Robert Goff.
Right.
And for 3 years, in 1900 to 1902, Goff was manager of the AJS Bank in Ipswich, as well as being on various committees like the Ipswich School of Arts.
Well, may we say.
On the 13th of April 1902, Goff's daughter was born in Ipswich in the bank manager residence on the corner of Bell and Brisbane Streets. Her name was Barbara Irene Goff, or Biddy, as she was called. And she went on to become one of the most celebrated nurses of the Second World War.
Wow.
She devoted her entire life to the Red Cross.
Really?
Now, in 1940, Biddy's husband, Captain Boyd Moriarty, went to serve in the Middle East with the Australian Army as part of the Second Australian Imperial Force, the A.I.F. And Biddy followed him as a nurse with the Red Cross. The following year, in 1941, Moriarty was killed by a German sniper, but Biddy stayed on to build an impressive nursing reputation of international standing.
Exactly.
Now, she was one of the longest active service records in the Red Cross. She was the first Red Cross worker to go to France to treat prisoners of war from Germany, and she was commandant of the first Australian Red Cross unit into Singapore to treat the Australian POWs of the Japanese. Biddy became known as the mother of the A.I.F, like I said. And in 1947, she was awarded the Florence Nightingale Medal. Now, that's the highest international distinction that a nurse can get anywhere in the world. But how many people here even have heard of Mrs. Moriarty or Biddy Goff?
Never.
As she was known when she was in Ipswich. No one. She was born right here, lived on the corner of Bell and Brisbane Streets. I think, Danny, there should be a plaque put right there to celebrate her contribution of actually saving hundreds or even thousands of lives.
Well,
we've got to remember.
The previous mayor did have those on heritage listed houses and that, didn't he? Like there's a little plaque out the front. We need to go to the council and put a case, and for the next
we do.
When the next election comes up, it'll be a case. We will put it forward. That we will put plaques around famous places in Ipswich. There, how am I going?
Let's make it an election issue, because there's a big case for Biddy Moriarty, because I should add that Biddy had an older sister who also lived in that house in Ipswich. Her name was Helen Lyndon Goff, and she has plaques and things with her name on it in places where she lived, like up in Maryborough, out at Allara, and even over in London. Helen Goff, the sister, was better known as P.L. Travers and was the author of the much-loved books of Mary Poppins. So yes, Danny, the author of Mary Poppins once lived right here in Ipswich.
I've seen the house out there. Where is it, Allara?
Maryborough.
Yeah, that's right.
No, there's a house out in Allara with the Mary Poppins.
The P.L. Travers was born in Maryborough. The family went to Allara, and but before that, they were right here in Ipswich. Yeah, and you've probably seen the 2013 movie called Saving Mr. Banks.
Yes.
That was about P.L. Travers out at Ala and the making of the Disney movie Mary Poppins. There was no mention of Ipswich in the movie and nothing about her amazing sister Biddy. So Biddy Moriarty is more deserving of a plaque in the street because of the lives she actually saved. And, of course, she was the mother of the A.I.F.
The mother of the A.I.F. Now, where will we see and hear this story?
Yes, I upload the news stories every Sunday morning on historyouthere.com.
Historyouthere.com. We're still looking for entries to do the hark, hark, hark. Send them out to all the w's.historyouthere.com and we'll hear Harold the H. Hark, hark, hark. Peacock next week about this time right here on West Bremer Radio.